Principals been working with Pauline Silva for many months. Each line item in our budget is justified. Again, before they're asked, they went through a routine of what's the needs in each school. And again, the building principals worked with Pauline, creating, I believe, is a solid budget. Just a couple highlights that are within our numbers. This budget maintains our 5-year technology plan, building a robust infrastructure. One of the things that we need to address, not only at Mount Helen High School, but across the district, and our technology plan is our projection systems. We have a lot of projectors that are 10, 12 years old that are failing, so we need to address our projectors in our classroom. The technology plan also addresses beefing up our wireless access points. Another highlight in our budget, again, trying to maintain being revenue neutral, is a stronger focus on social emotional supports. There's also a focus on our college and career pathways. We maintain an infrastructure to build internships, programs, advanced course network, partnerships with Roger Williams. And then the last highlight is really maintaining our asset protection plan that our building committee has been working on over the last couple of years. Within our asset protection plan, there's roughly $11 million worth of improvements to the school that's budgeted with $3 million that, again, will be an investment over time. So over 5 years, that $3 million will turn into $11 million worth of projects through reimbursement. So again, we're maintaining a lot of our 5-year plans, but at the same time, our budget is secure enough that we will not slow down our transformation, our innovation. We will shift resources, reallocate resources in order to provide this best public education system that we can for our students. So even though it sounds like we're just maintaining and carrying over our FTEs, at the same time we are committed to innovation, transformation, so that Mount Hope, Bristol Warren Schools can be the best school district in Rhode Island and New England. Thank you. Pauline?
Any questions, comments?
Thank you very much, Dr. Andre. And also, thank you. I was at the budget subcommittee meeting that I guess was last week. And I also would like to add my thanks to the thanks from Mrs. McBride, to the participation of those who were able to attend. And I'm glad to see that there are many others here that are interested in this very important task of hearing how our budget is put together and learning how what the priorities are for our school budget and what we're going to be asking for from the Joint Finance Committee coming up next week. With that in mind, I was wondering whether it's Dr. Andre or Mrs. Silva that's more appropriate to respond to this question. We might be able to talk a little bit about some of the particular funding challenges that had to be overcome with respect to putting this budget together in relation to the state aid that the school district receives and how we ultimately get funded and what our budget challenges are in terms of what our ask is.
I just want to what is your question? I want to make sure I'm clear.
I just want to, I was hoping that you might be able, this is more a question for the benefit of those that are in the audience than anything else. If you might be able to talk a little bit about the challenges that we had to overcome in putting this budget together based on the way that the school district receives state aid and how that impacts the way that we're able to put the budget together and what our ultimate ask ends up being from the Joint Finance.
Okay. So the challenges began for most of us in 2012 with the impact of the funding formula, where they tied state funding to the socioeconomic status of each community rated by the median income, the property values per pupil, and the free and reduced lunch. That resulted in some districts winning in that they got more funding from the state, and others, Mr. Warren is in fact the biggest loser. That is our challenge. That will continue to be our challenge right through to full implementation, which will occur in 2021. We were told in 2012 we were going to lose about $800,000 a year. We've been fortunate in that our actual losses from 2012 through 2017 have been either side of $500,000, so 500 to 600,000, except for 2019. 2019, the perfect storm, if you will, occurred, where our losses will be over $1 million. We planned for that by being extremely frugal in all of our asks. Dr. Andre alluded to earlier that we work with the administration to have a truly building-based budgeting system. So we look at big picture, we look at the staff, the funding, the class sizes, ensuring that we have a teacher in front of at least every 24 pupils. Look at classes that are fully, make sure our classes are fully subscribed to. But doing that without, as Dr. Andre said, without stifling our innovation. So, everyone is asked to do more with less, or to really look at a thoughtful way of how we deliver instruction to our students. So the easy things are, being energy efficient, putting, lighting in where it's appropriate to gain a reduction in our utilities, putting in, Mr. Simmons over there, motors and controls that will make our overall costs, our operational costs, much less. As well, when we look at no stone unturned, how can we keep doing the innovative work in a different way? That's basically the basis for building the budget. The teachers and the administrators are just amazing in doing more with less, but the challenge continues. It's $1 million this year. The cumulative loss to this district will be $40 million over the 10 years. That's our challenge. That's our challenge. I think we've handled it well. I think that, at this point in time, our back is against the wall, and the budget that we've presented to you is a good budget. It's a budget we need. It's a 3.97% increase.
So, Mr. Ramos, if I can add to some of Mrs. Silva's comments. So just funding our priorities and just breaking down our budget a little bit. So there's 5 major funding categories: instruction, instructional support, operations, other commitments, and leadership. 51% of our budget goes to direct instruction, face-to-face teaching, salaries, benefits. 16% of our budget goes to instructional supports, 15% of the budget goes to operations, 5% of the budget goes to leadership, and 13% of the budget, and this is where, again, a major obstacle is, 13% of our budget goes to other commitments. And other commitments are defined by debt service payments, out-of-district tuitions, out-of-district transportation, our local transportation, our retiree benefits, and our community service operations. So that's roughly $9.1 million of other commitments. Those are not direct service to our students. So when we talk about building our budget, we know in our ask of $56 million, thereabouts, that $9.1 million is an area that we will not be able to cut. So that's not direct instruction to classrooms. So that's a major obstacle. It's a hurdle that we have to overcome every year, along with the decrease in state funding.
Thank you. And Dr. Andrew, I ask you this question because I think you know the answer, because we talked about it last week. How does what this district asks of the constituent municipalities of the district to spend on education as a share of the overall municipal budgets of each town compare generally with the asks of other school districts in the state?
So we did a little research a few months ago, and we contacted about 10 or 15 districts, closer to 10 districts, and looked at what was the percentage of the municipal budget that goes to education. Correct, Mr. Ramos? That's what you're looking for.
Yes.
So Bristol's percentage is roughly 52%, 53% of their municipal budget goes to education. Warren is around 47% of their budget goes to education. And then if you compare that to districts like North Kingstown, it's around 63%, South Kingstown is around 73%, Barrington 68%, East Greenwich is around 55%. Those are the quick ones off the top of my head. Portsmouth, I think, is in the 60s as well.
So fair to say that in general, Bristol and Warren, in terms of a percentage of their expenditures of the municipal budget, has a lower percentage spent on education than the majority of the districts?
According to our research, yes.
Any other questions?
Right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, thank you to Dr. Andre and Pauline for all your hard work putting this budget together. I was also at the subcommittee meeting last week, and one of the issues that was discussed was, and we actually received email on this earlier this week, was the school nursing at Hugh Cole. And at the time we discussed there's looking to be more social emotional support put in place. One of the things that I asked you at that time was, have we reached out to universities, nursing programs to get somebody in? And I was wondering if you had made any headway with that.
Honestly, not this week, but that's still on.
Please don't take this wrong. No disrespect, Ryan.
Okay. I move that we amend the budget to add 2/5 support for Hugh Cole nursing.
Second.
I'm not sure I understand what the dollar amount would be, because the budget has a bottom line dollar amount.
That's right, that's all.
And if there's a motion to amend,
At the meeting, it was roughly $25,000.
so are you moving to amend the budget request to increase it by another?
Increase it by $25,000 for Hugh Cole nursing support.
And it's your second, that motion. We have a motion made to increase the budget request by $25,000, made by Mr. Bradshaw, seconded by Mr. Ramos. Is there any discussion on that motion to amend?
Yes, the biggest thing that came across at the budget subcommittee meeting was the need for more teachers. And every penny extra that we get, I believe, needs to go to teachers. It needs to make our classrooms smaller, it needs to make our instruction stronger. And I don't believe that we should be spending money when we received from the principal, the vice principal, and the staff at Hugh Cole that they were quite happy with the way things were right now. We did receive one email this week But again, I reiterate what I said the other night. Parents want smaller classrooms. They want more teachers. And that's where I would spend my money if I had it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, $25,000, it doesn't sound like a lot of money on a $54 million budget, but my point is that was it $25,000 a lot of money or not a lot of money? The discussion that took place on the subcommittee level last week gave the indication to me that there wasn't really support for this, and B, it wasn't felt that it was even necessary. So for those two reasons, I'm not going to support this amendment to $25,000. It's something that I'm under the impression there really isn't support for from the people in that room that evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the motion to add money to the budget, I was not, unfortunately, able to attend the budget subcommittee meeting, so I did not participate in that. But that discussion, I did receive the emails this week, however, from the gentleman, was a gentleman I sent, it was a woman, I'm sorry. However, in principle, I generally prefer that the budget come from the superintendent and trust that he will do the staffing and the, that he believes is necessary, he and his administration believe is necessary for running the district. So I will decline to vote for this amendment. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At the budget subcommittee meeting, what I observed is that there's a tension between the experience of some or perhaps many parents and the experiences that they're having with respect to the capacity of the school nurse at Hugh Cole and the evaluation of the administration and perhaps the application of the criteria around when additional support is needed for a school nurse. And in reflecting upon it and listening to various people that have been talking about this issue, it seems to me that this has been an issue that has persisted as a concern of parents for quite some time. And although I can understand from the perspective of an administration looking at, for example, what the general recommendations are for the staffing of school nurses per number of students, that it might not be something that jumps out as a priority. The fact that it has been an issue that has persisted for so long, and the fact that we as a district have prioritized the staffing of school nurses such that we ensure that we have at least one full-time school nurse at all of our elementary schools, and in fact the population of other elementary schools is, other than UCole, is lower than it is at UCole by a significant margin. That in the spirit of being responsive to a problem that, although it might not be observed by all, is certainly the experience of many, it is an appropriate step to take to fund $25,000 to provide the support and alleviate the concerns, or attempt to alleviate the concerns that parents have regarding the overworked nature of the school nurse at Hugh Cole now. So I plan to support this.
My comment on this would be that I was part of a group years ago before I was on the school committee who fought for our school nurse at Hugh Cole to have assistance. Is this working? Okay, thank you. And as a mom of kids who go there and someone who is at the school quite often, I feel like it's a tall order, and I've made this clear. I've always had this stance that to have one school nurse for 644 students of this age group is a pretty tall order. I have always wanted the Hugh Cole nurse to have support. I think it's just necessary. I feel like it's a different scenario with elementary school kids. I think they're in the nurse's office perhaps more. I think at Hugh Cole we have a lot of kids with intensive needs. And I think that, again, it's a tall order to have 644 pre-K through 5th grade students with one school nurse. So part of me feels that I don't want to support this motion because I don't want to just say let's not fully research this and throw $25,000 at it. The other part of me, I think most of me wants to, I'm working this out as I speak. Thank you for bearing with me. The other part of me wants to say, I hope that we can look into this and really maybe do, I know back then we did kind of an audit of the nurse's office. We have a different nurse now. To look into what the needs are. I don't think that that voting in favor of this budget request means that that's not something that we can look into. So that's where I'm leaning at the moment. But please know that I will follow up with that, and that I think it is a necessity. Thank you.
Any comments? Hearing none, I need a motion on a vote on the motion to amend. So all in favor of the motion to amend, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
The nays have it, so the motion to amend fails. And we're back to the original motion, which was to put forth the budget as presented. Are there any additional comments or discussion on the budget itself? Yes, if you're going to speak, please come up here. And while most of us, if we've lived here for 6 months, know who you are, can you please state your name and where you live so that it can be made part of the record?
My name is Linda Hermashadis. I only have one granddaughter left in the school system, but I'm very familiar with Hugh Cole School for a lot of reasons. So I'm wondering, I haven't been able to attend a lot of the meetings, what kind of discussion, there's been research into whether or not this position should be funded. This is not a new idea. It's been going on for a while. So it's rather ludicrous to hear Ms. Schofield say, I'm not sure about funding this without proper research. I'm not sure what that means, Erin.